Hello happy souls, welcome back to my channel. This is Charlotte with Happy Twins 1111. My beautiful friends, thank you for being so patient with me while I've had a little break. If you've been following my channel for a while, you'll know that I tend to disappear from time to time, and I've never been very good at keeping a schedule, but it does mean you get the best of me because I really genuinely only post when I'm guided to, when I'm feeling the energies flowing and, you know, I've got something to share. But this is a new reading I've got for you today. I'm very excited for this one. This is the path forward. What do you need to know about what's coming next in love, in life, in career? We're going to look at the whole enchilada and bring forward the wisdom and the guidance that you need the most right now to help you take a step forward into your own growth, your healing, and really productive and satisfying progress. So I've got 3 piles for you to choose from. In pile number 1, we've got the Starchild Tarot with this stunning piece of rainbow fluorite. I don't know if the video will pick up the rainbows there in the bottom. I absolutely love this piece. In pile number 2, we've got the Moonchild Tarot with this twin Amethyst. And in pile number 3, we've got the lovely Omens Tarot with Angelite. So take your time choosing. There really is no right or wrong way. You can just see which one you're drawn to, which one feels good to you, which one you just kind of feel like you need to see. If you're drawn to more than one, it just means there's messages in more than one pile for you, and that's okay as well. You know, you don't have to stick to just watching one. And the timestamps are in the description box below. That will take you straight to your pile, and I will see you there. Hello pile 1, welcome to your reading. You have chosen the Starchild Tarot and this lovely piece of rainbow fluorite. And we are asking today about your path forward. What's coming next for you in love, in life, in career? What do you need them to know the most right now to help you move forward with grace, with healing and with light? Let's see what Spirit wants to say to you. So I'm going to give these a good shuffle. We're going to use Oracle cards today. We're also going to use some charms and the tarot coins as well. There will be an extended, so if this resonates for you, you can always find the link to that in the description box below. I also pin it in the comments at the top. And thank you for being here. Thank you for being so patient with me whilst I've been away. I've had a lovely break, just regrouping. I've been in deep hermit mode, very introspective, and yeah, I'm looking forward to getting back into the swing of things. I know I've never been very good at keeping a professional schedule, but it does mean that, you know, you get to enjoy the very best of me. I'm only here when I feel like I really need to be. So let's do this pile 1. Now I'm going to start this reading by looking at what's come before, what's in the recent past that's affecting you now. We're then going to look at the present, and then we're going to look at what's coming next and bring forward all the guidance associated with that. So let's start by looking at what's come before. Where have you been, pile 1? What's been going on in your life? I think this is the most validating bit, the past and the present, because it means that you can anchor all of this in truth. And actually, whilst I'm shuffling, you can also ask for a sign. When we ask the universe for a sign, it basically gives Spirit an opportunity to really validate the messages come through. And a sign can be anything at all. It could be a series of numbers, it could be an animal, a sign, or a symbol, a god, goddess, or deity, whatever works for you. So just whatever pops into your head. And you may notice that that sign doesn't just appear in the reading, but appears outside of the reading somewhere else in your life as well. And that's just Spirit giving you a nod towards the messages you need to listen to and trust. So let's do this. What's been going on? Okay, we've got the Knight of Swords in reverse. We've got the 4 of Wands. We've got the universe or the world in reverse. We've got Temperance in reverse. And we've got the Ace of Wands. Wowza. Okay, we're going to clarify these. We've got the 7 of Wands. Justice in reverse. We've got the Emperor. We've got the Page of Swords. And we've got the 6 of Swords in reverse. Okay, so this message is coming through really, really clear for me. But I'm going to get some Oracle cards as well. This is the Moonology deck. All the decks I use are listed in the description box below. Bring love into the situation. New moon in Aquarius. Believe in the impossible. The blue moon. And from the Divine Animals Oracle, we've got dog. And we have got armadillo. That's so interesting. I was reading about the armadillo just this morning. And from the Goddess Power deck, we've got Anya. We've got Ishtar. One more. And we've got Mart. Okay. So these are very powerful energies coming through for you, pile one. What I'm seeing is that you felt, pardon me, I was just about to say blocked in the throat chakra. And there comes a cough. So when we have the Knight of Swords in reverse, this is a stage in your life at which you're feeling very inhibited. You don't feel comfortable speaking your truth. You don't feel comfortable living your truth. And actually, it may be that you're not even sure what your truth is. You are definitely a stage which is a catalyst for dramatic transformation, but you're not really sure which direction to move in. There's definitely been a recent discovery around your own spiritual understanding. And that's to say that you may have recently woken up, or you may have come to terms with the idea that there's something bigger and more beautiful than what you know is seen by the human eye. When the Seven of Wands comes up, it shows that fear or defensiveness of actually moving forward. And so what I'm seeing at the moment is this energy of feeling quite stuck, of recognizing that your current situation doesn't serve you, that you need to move out of it, that you need to grow and heal and expand. But there's a great deal of fear around doing that. Now, there's definitely a spiritual connection that's come through here, because we've got the Four of Wands. So there's been some kind of loving relationship which didn't move forward due to karmic lessons in other areas of your life, or perhaps in areas of those. This person was intended to activate or trigger your awakening and to help you see the bigger picture, but they're not ready for you yet, and you're not ready for them. This was definitely the beginning of something very big, but you may have found that that connection kind of fell away as all of these realizations were brought to the surface. We've also got the World in reverse and clarifying by the Emperor. So you're being guided that even though this relationship looks like it's done and dusted, it's actually not over. There's definitely a divine masculine presence in this relationship, and that's to say that it has, sorry, I'm just listening. Arthur's asking me to rephrase this. So you're being asked to recognize the divine masculine and divine feminine nature within you. Even though it's this person that's bringing that divine masculine energy, in truth, they're bringing it to help you balance things out. When we have Temperance in reverse, this shows us that you're really not in the energy of being able to fill your own cup. You're feeling very lost. You're looking for guidance. You're looking outside of yourself for answers, and you feel very much like an amateur. There's a lot of energy here of being very, very hard on yourself. And even though this new spiritual beginning beckons you forward, we see with the Six of Swords that you're not actually taking a great deal of action towards that, because you're simply not sure what the right path is. Now, Arthur is, and sorry, I'm just listening to him. Arthur's reminding you that you must stop divining your worth by how much external validation and approval you receive. And he's using the example of editing your photos and posting them online, and then feeling either high or crushed based on the number of likes you receive. And he's asking you to recognize this is a very unhealthy measure of how worthy you are. It feels like you're stuck in a cycle of needing others to tell you who you are. And here you're being reminded that no one can really tell you who you are. They can never truly understand or inform who you are. And this is the energy of kind of growing older, but not allowing yourself to grow up. And growing up means learning to recognize your own truth, your individuality, learning to rely on your own opinions and not needing to fit in or to be seen as cool or accepted. So in recent weeks, you may have noticed this need to process your own thoughts, your own feelings, but you're not actually allowing yourself the time or space to do that, because it's a habit to seek that from outside of self. And when this Knight of Swords comes up in reverse, you don't know if all of these new ideas and thoughts and feelings you're having are acceptable to others, and so you keep them inside. You don't want to be perceived as weird or different, and yet you don't trust what you're thinking or feeling either. So, you know, this is about recognizing as well which thoughts serve you and are born of your truth, and which ones come from the wounded parts of you. Now, you also need to be told that it's okay where you are. It's okay where you are. It's okay to be where you are. These messages aren't intended to shame you. In fact, billions of people have traveled the very path of insecurity and need for approval that you're basically traveling right now. It's like a rite of passage for us all. And your first reaction is to hate yourself for not knowing better, to hate yourself for not being able to trust in your own truth and your own beliefs, and for not being more, what's the word? More knowing, you know. So you're being asked to be patient with yourself and to allow yourself to grow. And you're being reminded as well that we don't grow chronologically, or even in a linear fashion. You know, we grow quite unevenly, and this is why humans clip their hedges into like neat boxes. You know, they want orderliness, but that's not our true nature. It's okay to grow in a lopsided fashion. It doesn't have to make you feel less than. I mean, imagine if an oak sapling looked at the apple tree and tried to mimic its appearance and stature, and then wept miserably when it didn't bear the same fruit. You know, it would never know how tall and graceful it was supposed to be if it was trying to be like the apple tree. It would do itself so much harm trying to be something it's not. And so you have to learn to love who you are and stop trying to fit yourself into the boxes of a corrupt society. These are boxes that were built for you by society, I should say. You know, you are so beautiful and perfect as you are, but you're so unsure of who you are at this stage in your life. You're recognizing that you're different, and there's a deep part of you that just wants to fit in. It doesn't want to be different. It's like you want to know it all now, and you beat yourself up so much for not knowing it all now. And so even though you're being called to be adaptable, to move into change, to move into truth, and we've got communion here, and I'm hearing this is related to that communion with your higher self, you're not bold enough or brave enough to actually step into this change and transformation. You're being asked to bring love into this situation, and the new moon in Aquarius is all about altruism, and I feel that this starts with you. This is about bringing love to yourself, you know, and believing in the impossible. There's a part of you that feels like you can never feel good enough. You can never feel happy with who you are. You can never be comfortable in your own skin. You long for this companionship. You know, you long not to be alone, and you define yourself by how many people are around you and how those people perceive and value you. And this doesn't help you. It doesn't help you remain strong in your individuality. It doesn't help you understand the truth of who you are. And you don't need to know everything right now, or even why you're here. So many of these lessons that you're learning will only be realised in retrospect, and that in itself is part of the learning, to allow yourself to be a learner and then to look back at how far you've come with pride and, you know, not with judgment. So you're really being asked to let go of who you think you should be and allow yourself to grow in the direction of your truth. And you can be proud of the person you are now and who you were then, you know, proud of the love you gave, proud of the pain that you've carried and continue to hold. And I want you to know with ruthless certainty that you are enough right now. Your happiness does not depend on you having to change. You know, you spend so much time wondering why you're not good enough and beating yourself up, head down, heart closed. But you must learn that you can't control how others think about you, however hard you try. But you are here, and you have the power to decide how you think about yourself. And that really is the only opinion that matters for you. There's a lot of defensive energy coming through here with the armadillo, and again this Seven of Wands, and again that's born of insecurity. You're so afraid of how others might perceive you, and so you feel you have to live up to this specific persona again that fits in. It fits into this societal construct that life has kind of created for you without your permission, without taking into consideration, you know, who you are. But yeah, you can't control how others think, no matter how hard you try. It's time now to clear out all the rubbish in your head and in your heart. This is about learning to choose your thoughts, the way you choose your clothes. You know, that's where your power is. You can't keep living in a fantasy world where you're a perfect person, everything's perfect, and, you know, if only you could get there, you think that everything will be okay, but that's not real life. Real life is happening for you right now, and you're being asked to be satisfied and present with what you have and enjoy building upon that. Learn to enjoy the process of becoming. That's where your power is. Now, I'm hearing as well that the people around you, they perpetuate this cycle of needing, of validation and approval. They firmly believe that life is about looking good and about thinking that you're amazing. You know, they can't see and feel what you can, but that doesn't mean that you shouldn't grow. You know, deep down, you are so much more than what you see yourself as now, but it takes courage to step away from that path that society designed for you. And I want you to know that I was that person as well. You know, I used to think I needed the fancy car and the designer handbag and the right job title and living on the right street or postcode. And I felt so empowered by having those things because everyone approved of me. And it was only after I woke up that I realised how shallow and unnecessary and entirely pointless that was. And I never needed those people's approval. You know, what I found was that by being true to myself and learning to love who I am, warts and all, has been and continues to be the most satisfying and liberating decision I've ever made for myself. And if I can do it, you definitely can. So, you know, things are changing for you. You've met this person. They've triggered some kind of different knowing. You've found yourself immersed in a world of spirituality, looking at abundance and manifesting and looking how to create positive change, but you're observing that world. You're not partaking or participating in it. You're kind of stood on the edges. And look at this card here. You know, she's kind of sat on the precipice, you know, reaching down with her toe, but the sword of truth remains beside her. She's not picked it up, and she's just observing. This is a blocked energy stopping you from that forward movement and the transformation that's available to you here. So let's see what's going on in your present. We've got the Queen of Cups in reverse. We've got the Eight of Cups. We've got the Lovers in reverse. We've got the King of Wands. The Knight of Cups in reverse. That's weird. I was going to say the Knight of Cups. It's like I knew that was going to come out. Clarifying, we've got the Three of Swords in reverse. The Nine of Cups in reverse. The Ace of Swords. The Sun. And the Page of Cups in reverse. So what we're seeing here now, when the Queen of Cups in reverse comes up, clarified by the Three of Swords, pardon me, again, there goes your throat chakra. We're seeing a lot of emotional, impulsive behaviours that are born of the wounding that already exists within you. And remember, I said this is about learning to recognise which thoughts and feelings are true and aligned with your highest truth, and which of them are just a reaction to the pain that resides within you. Now, this relationship you've been in, and the Lovers comes up reversed here over that World card, the relationship that appeared to be life-changing, appeared to be everything you was looking for, and then abruptly ended. You know, it's not really over, but it's triggered this awakening and this awareness, and you're being asked to reflect on how you're feeling about that presently. And in reality, your emotions are distorted. They're emotionally distorted. When the Queen of Cups comes up, this indicates an energy of codependence, which is born of self-love deficit. When we don't give ourselves all the loving sustenance we need, we crave it outside of us. And that causes us to behave in quite needy or clingy ways. Or even the energy, even when we don't behave those ways, our energy precedes us. People sense when we're not, you know, feeling whole within ourselves, when we're grasping and needing that sustenance from outside of us. And with the Three of Swords clarifying this, you know, this indicates that presently you're dealing with some kind of past trauma that you're not facing. It feels like you want to. You're learning and are aware of that these are things you need to navigate and to reframe. And you're recognizing your own emotional imbalances. But again, there's no action here driving you towards that. There's just a kind of resentment for self that you're in this position, that you feel this way and you can't quite seem to shake it. You probably recognize how codependent or anxiously attached you were to this person, and yet you feel powerless to step out of that energy. And you know, the Eight of Cups shows us that you're trying to do that soul searching, that you recognize the need to bring your emotions into balance, but that's going to require you to embrace truth. And I love that the King of Wands has come up for you here, because he's all about really leading forward, driving forward with that spiritual passion, igniting the truth in your soul. And it's clarified here by the Sun. You've got all of this Leo energy coming through here. And actually I wrote about Leo energy and the Lion in my community post on YouTube yesterday. If you're not a subscriber, you won't have seen it, but if you click on the community page on my YouTube channel, you'll see that the most recent post was about strength. It was about that Leo energy and the contradictory nature of it. You know, the Lion can be both proud and egoic, and it can also be nurturing and protective and powerful. But you're being called to take control, to take charge of your life, to allow all of that inspiration and that kind of powerful inspired drive to lead you. And the only guidance you need to focus on is do what feels good. The Sun is all about childhood purity and innocence. You know, children, they just satisfy themselves. They go and play and they do their own thing and they say what they want, and they don't have any of these fears or insecurities because society hasn't programmed them with that yet. And so they are pure in their search for joy and happiness and playfulness. And this is the energy you're being asked to embody, just to allow yourself to enjoy this process. Stop panicking about it. And also, you don't need to tell everyone what you're doing. If you feel a little bit insecure about how others are going to perceive these changes in you, recognize that it's really not essential for you to share this with other people. Those that matter don't mind, and those that mind don't matter. And, you know, reach out into the spiritual community and find some like-minded souls that you can discuss these new discoveries with. You do have to stop chasing this person. Stop messaging them. The Knight of Cups and the Page of Cups, when they both come up in reverse, especially for what's going on in your present, you may feel really broken that you've reached out to this person, they've ghosted you, they've ignored you. You know, fate is sending you a very clear message here. Now is not the time for this connection to come together. This person is going to be back in your life at some point in the future, but right now you need to let go. Loving someone harder doesn't make them come to you. You know, you need to recognize that this person isn't in the right energy to receive you right now, and you're definitely not in the right energy to be in a healthy, loving relationship. First, you have to have that with yourself. And the Page of Cups is about messages. The Knight of Cups is about action. Both of these energies are blocked, and you're being asked to step back, to leave that situation alone. If you're wondering if you should reach out to this person, the answer is a very, very clear no. I want to get some cards as well, because I feel like there's something here to do with your work life. I'm just going to pull a couple for this that we need to address. There's something brief here that needs to come through. All right, we've got the Nine of Pentacles, the Eight of Wands in reverse, and the Three of Cups in reverse, and Awakening in reverse. Okay, this is so interesting because the Nine of Pentacles is the energy of abundance. It's the energy of self-sufficiency. It's the energy of being in control, in power of your material world. And this is definitely your goal right now, you know, to succeed. And you may be frustrated that this is very slow moving. It doesn't seem to be moving in the direction you want it to. Now, Spirit is saying that's because you've got your needs and desires muddled up. When you do something you think you need to do because you want the result that it provides, rather than something that you want to do because it feels good, you're essentially heading down a dead-end track. Part of the reason you're working in the environment you're in now is because of the social interactions and the validation and approval it provides, but it's not in line with your truth. It's not in line with who you really are. It may look like it could deliver the rewards that you want, but if you're not enjoying the process and you're not in the right place, the rewards will not come to fruition. When you're doing what you're meant to be doing, that's when abundance flows. And so you're being asked to reconsider your career path, to recognize that you've chosen this path perhaps because it makes the most money and appears the most stable, rather than because it represents something that you feel divinely inspired to do. When you're on the right path, when you're on your destined path, abundance flows to you anyway, because you're working in congruence with your true nature and with what's meant for you. So let's see what's coming next and what the guidance is for you around that. We've got the Two of Swords. We've got the Two of Wands. I love this. We've got the Seven of Swords in reverse. We've got the Seven of Pentacles. And we've got the Two of Pentacles in reverse. Isn't that interesting? 3 twos out for you there. Clarifying, we've got the Knight of Wands in reverse. Transformation, which is the Death card in reverse. We've got the Chariot, the Four of Cups, and the Six of Wands. I'm going to get some more animal cards here as well for what's coming. We've got the Lioness. We've got the Jaguar, lots of big cat energy. We've got the Rhino. And we have the Hyena. Okay, this is very powerful, pile one. You're being asked to not make any dramatic, hasty changes or decisions. This is a time for introspection. You know, the Two of Swords is all about indecisiveness and confusion. And in the traditional Two of Swords, we see a lady who is blindfolded and she has her back to the water and she's kind of crossing the swords over her chest. I'm intrigued at how different this card is, because we actually see her facing the moon, facing the water, facing her destiny. And so the swords are over here kind of creating an opening for her to move forward and make a decision. But you're being asked to observe your intuition. The moon is all about connecting with our intuitively receptive energy, of feeling into our own gut instinct. Remember that advice about doing what feels good. The Two of Wands reassures you that when you do make a decision, it will be the right one. But again, with the Seven of Swords in reverse, you're being reminded that you don't need a strategy or a plan. This isn't the case of having to kind of decide, you know, how this is going to work. The universe is saying that's not your job. Your only job is to decide how you want to live and what you actually want. You're being asked to look at the kind of life you want to lead and to leave your requests to the universe open. You know, rather than saying, I want XYZ career, I want to live on this street, I want to drive this car, and I want an income that's exactly this. Yeah, it would be much better to focus on how you would feel about having those things. I want to be stable and secure. You know, I want to live in a home that makes me feel happy and good. I want a career that I feel alive in and valued in what I do. So you're being asked not to figure out the hows. The universe is reminding you that the right guidance will come to you at the right time. But right now, you just need to figure out the whys, and then to be patient while the universe allows it to come to fruition. There is a reminder here as well that patience is key. Rome wasn't built in a day. You know, the day you plant the seed is not the day you pick the fruit. Don't make any drastic changes right now. That's come up twice for you here. It's really important. And again, with the Knight of Wands in reverse, don't charge forward and change everything dramatically. Wait for the divine guidance, the inspired action. You know, when you feel an overwhelming urge to move in a specific direction, it may not be logical, but you'll know exactly that it's the right thing because it feels so good. It will be such a powerfully strong impulse that you simply cannot resist it. This is going to be a period of solitude for you, and the universe is reminding you that it's taking all of the things that don't serve you out of the equation so that you've got space to grow in the direction that you want to trust in your own victory, to trust that you're going to be satisfied, you're going to feel good, and that things are moving in a really positive direction for you. We've got big cat energy here, and remember, cats are always about intuition as well. The lioness here represents protection, and the jaguar represents release. It may really help you to work with these energies. A cat shows up here as well, a Siamese cat. You've also got horse energy coming through. And the horse is about freedom. you know, freedom to move in the direction you feel inspired to. But when so much cat energy comes through, this is really about learning to tap into your own intuition, learning to connect at source, you know, letting go of the need to rely on other people for your sustenance, for your sense of approval and to be validated. All of that energy is within you, and you need to learn to protect yourself from the opinions of others. Because when we rely on other people in order to feel validated or approved of, we're also at the mercy of their harsher judgments. You know, if you're going to trust them to tell you that you're great, it means that you're also going to have to hear them when they think you're a pile of shit. And as I said, no one else's opinion matters except your own. So you're being asked to protect yourself from the harsh judgments that are outside of you. And the number 9 here with the Jaguar, the energy of the Hermit, reminds you that you find that liberation on the inside when you start listening to your own soul's voice above the voice of others. Rhinoceros is about moderation. And again, this asks you to move forward in baby steps. And we have fear come through here. And look at this image. It's so very powerful because this represents one place. But on one side, we see this kind of desolate energy. On the other side, we see all of this lush growth and, you know, this kind of bountiful, beautiful scene. And it reminds you that love and fear do exist simultaneously if you allow them to, but you only need to turn in the other direction and face the light to completely transform your perception of where you're at. So you're being asked not to cling to fear, to recognize that fear, all that energy of, well, what if, isn't real. It's an assumption. You know, what if this happens, or what if that happens? What if it all goes wrong? You know, you can't live based on that kind of anxious what-ifing energy because it's not real. It hasn't happened yet. And so you're being asked to caution yourself against really getting tangled up with those kind of energies and fears that actually keep you very stuck. So I want to get a couple more cards as to what's coming with this person. What do you need to know about this person that you've met? Ace of Pentacles, it's not time for a new beginning with them. The Two of Cups, you will have it eventually, but it's not something that you will chase. And the Five of Pentacles, there are rejection wounds here that still need to be healed before this person's going to come back into your zone of awareness. So they are largely irrelevant to you right now. There's no need for communication or interaction. They're going to come back into your life at some point. But the message here is crystal clear. There is no new beginning here, and you mustn't chase this. You know, for that relationship to occur, both of you need to transcend a lot of rejection and fear-based karma around the energy of abandonment. So let's get some final guidance for you. I'm going to use the charms as well as some oracle cards. Oh, okay, quite a few here. We've got, this is a positive sign. Oh, black like my heart. Paper aeroplane. The Loner Club. No idea. The acorn. That's just the back of one of the things. A little flower that says thank you. The clock, the stopwatch. A piece of turquoise. A Christmas tree with a star on top. And then we have a little heart with a hole in the middle and this tiny key. So I'm going to get some oracle cards and tarot coins as well. This is the Divine Energy Oracle. Do something different. Express your joy. Grieve your losses. And raise your vibration. And from the Starseed Oracle, water your garden. You're not for everyone. Starkeeper. And weight of the world. And from the tarot coins, we have got the Four of Wands, the Ten of Pentacles, and the Queen of Wands. Powerful. Okay, so guidance for you, pile 1. Do something different. Water your garden, nourishment, body care, tenderness and rest. There's an important message for you here, pile 1, because you carry a lot of resentment and a lot of hurt for how people have let you down. But Spirit's asking you to recognize how much you let yourself down on a daily basis. It's reminding you that if you can't take care of yourself and you understand how hard it is to show up and commit to yourself, that you have to forgive others for not being able to do that for you as well. It's really hard to take care of ourselves, let alone others. Now, you put other people before you. You find it easier to take care of others than you do to take care of yourself. But a lot of the resentment and the frustration that you feel towards others is actually rooted in the resentment and the frustration you feel towards the neglect that you demonstrate for yourself. And it says here, water your own garden, nourishment, body care and rest. Now is the time to do something different. If you're wondering what that is, it's just taking care of yourself. You don't need to change your job. You don't need to make any dramatic changes. You just need to show up for yourself in a different way. And this might mean having a loving chat with yourself in the morning when you wake up. Good morning, Charlotte. You look beautiful today. You're going to have a great day. What are you worried about today? Let's sit and reframe that for a minute. These are kind of conversations that our parents should have had with us if they were loving and supportive. But most of us didn't grow up with that kind of perfect, nurturing energy from our caregivers. And so because we've not received it, we weren't taught how to give it to ourselves. So you're being asked to reparent yourself, to love yourself, to stop feeling angry at all the people that let you down and to turn that focus inwards. How am I letting myself down? How can I show up for myself with more love, more support, more nurturing energy? Again, we've got some more of that sun energy. Express your joy. Don't worry about what other people think of you. This card says you're not for everyone. Embrace your weirdness and face your true north. You will start gravitating towards people that are more like you. Like attracts like. But first you have to be bold enough to create space for that, to let go of the people around you that aren't helpful, that are perpetuating the same myth that other people's opinions of us matter. Grieve your losses. You need to learn to let go of this person for now. This person that you've been dwelling on, this person that you're angry that left you or didn't communicate with you or didn't show up for you. That grief, it's important to recognize it. Sometimes you bury it under anger or bitterness. And even though that can be very empowering, well, they were a horrible person anyway, or they don't deserve me and I hate them so much. Those messages we send ourselves can feel empowering and comforting in the moment, but they actually keep us stuck. You're being asked to acknowledge how hurt you are and to work through that pain. It says, cosmic ancestors seed the light by staying grounded. And I want to remind you that the armadillo was actually about groundedness. This is finding time to be outdoors. You may be an earth sign. If you are, you need a lot of connection to Mother Earth's energy. That could be as simple as, going outside and standing barefoot on the grass once a day, or bringing the outdoors in, bring flowers or sticks or crystals or rocks into the home and give yourself some time with those energies. But we've also got cosmic ancestor, recognizing that you are a channel for the light, that you're actually downloading and activating within yourself and others a powerful awareness. And I do believe there's a new generation of star seeds that are bringing such important messages, and you are definitely within that wave of the collective. Raise your vibration. To raise our vibration, we have to address our thoughts. And that starts with something as simple as an affirmation such as, I am love. When you focus on very positive energies, instead of complaining, you start to raise the vibration of your energy. Weight of the world, boundaries, let it go. It's not yours to carry. So for me, a lot of this raising your vibration is being able to understand that the people around you, in fact, let me explain this in a more specific way. Energy always seeks to create balance. So if you had a very high vibrational person and a very low vibrational person in one room, the high vibrational energy will flow to the lower vibration person until they're in balance. Now, if you're constantly spending time with very low vibrational people, even if you're working to raise your own vibration, you're constantly giving that energy away if you don't know how to protect yourself. And you're also not giving yourself room and opportunities to grow. You're constantly being drained. So this is a twofold piece of guidance. One, you have to learn how to guard, protect, restore, and maintain a high vibrational energy for yourself. But you're also being asked to be aware of the weight that you're carrying. And it says boundaries, let it go. It's not yours to carry. You know, these are the people that like to complain. They finish work, they go straight to the bar, they complain about their lover, they complain about their job, they complain about their work colleagues, their neighbours, their family, their friends. They've got nothing positive to say. It's a very woe is me conversation. And this is what you're surrounded by. And when they're not talking about those things, they're trying to prop up their fragile egos. Look what I did on Instagram yesterday. Look at my new shoes. Look where I've been shopping. You know, this isn't who you are. And you've recognized this for a while, but you felt powerless to step out of that energy. And you're being reminded that you can do that now. You know, you can be who you're meant to be. This is definitely a divine relationship that you're involved in. And the fact that the Four of Wands came up twice for you, including the Ten of Pentacles, is a powerful reassurance that you can trust that that relationship is going to come to fruition and fullness later. But now is not the time. This journey is a powerful and beautiful gift for you. But you're being asked to, you know, we had the King of Wands and there's the Queen of Wands showing up to embody both your divine masculine and feminine energies, to balance these energies within yourself, to learn to be your most whole self, the most full and high vibrational version of yourself as possible. This is a positive sign. You can trust in the forward momentum of your journey. There will be some loving messages coming your way, and I feel that these are to test your resolve, because actually Spirit is saying you need to be alone right now. You need to deal with the shadow aspects in your heart space. There's a lot of healing that needs to be done, and even though you don't know how to do that yet, remember you don't need a strategy. You know, the seed has already been planted. You just need to be patient whilst it grows. Now, the turquoise stone for me is very strongly associated with Native American culture, but for me it's also a stone of protection. So you may need this stone in your life, but it's valuable to recognize that you need to explore how to better protect yourself, how to have firmer boundaries. There is a grounding and protection meditation on my channel, which I definitely recommend you use. But this isn't just about protecting yourself energetically, it's about choosing where you put yourself. You know, if you're going to keep revisiting the same groups of people that suck the life out of you and dwell in negativity, then you're going to keep getting the same response. The key to healing the hole in your heart is already within you. You just need to look inside and take it for yourself, to sit in gratitude for how far you have already come. The Christmas tree, I think, is really symbolic. I think for me, this is saying, you know, by winter solstice, things are going to really transform for you. And it's really interesting, actually, because the clock points at number 1, which would also be, you know, the first month of the new year. And it's also at number 7, which is the number of divinity, the number of the chariot, which also came through for you. Now, the chariot's about divine intervention as well. You know, number 7 is always a number of fate. And so you're being asked to sit tight and recognize that as this year closes out, you will entirely feel in a completely different space. Everything will look and feel different. You will feel different, but you have to carry yourself there. It's up to you to make the choices to do something different, to allow you to break out of the cycle that you're currently stuck in. So I really hope that was helpful for you, part 1. I'm going to take this over to the extended reading now. We're going to go deeper with that there. We're going to look more at what's coming next. I want to understand more about this person and what went on there, because I think there's some things there that need to be reframed and will help with your healing. And as well, this 3 of Swords energy, there's definitely some kind of trauma in the past, which I think we need to look at more deeply as well, so you can understand what's next in terms of how to transcend that. So if this reading has resonated for you, the link to the extended is in the description box below. But thank you so much for joining me here today. I appreciate it so very much. Welcome back, and thanks for having me. And thank you so much to all of you that hit the like button, left me a comment. I love to hear your feedback. And if you haven't already, it would be lovely if you subscribed. I noticed that about 50% of the viewers on my videos don't subscribe. And it really does make the most tremendous difference to me when you do, because it tells YouTube that you enjoy and are engaged with my content, and that will mean they promote me more and more people will find my readings. So thank you for those of you that do that, and thank you also for those of you that take the time to watch my adverts. That's such a generous use of your time. It's a perfect energy exchange, and it really helps my channel to keep going. So thank you so very much for that. Anyway, thanks for being here. Lots and lots of love, Pile 1, and I will see you next time. Bye. Hello, Pile 2. Welcome to your reading. You have chosen the Moonchild Tarot and this lovely piece of twin amethyst. And we are asking today, what is the path forward? What's next for you in love, life, career? What are the messages you need the most to help you move forward the most productively right now? So whilst I'm shuffling, you can set the intention that you're ready and willing to receive the messages you need the most to help you move forward on your true path. And you can also ask for a sign. Asking for a sign just helps to validate the messages that come forward. It gives spirit an opportunity to reaffirm faith. And you may notice that the sign you ask for doesn't just appear in the reading, it may appear in some other area of your life as well. Now, a sign can be anything at all. It can be an animal or a god or goddess. It could be a symbol, an object, name, numbers, whatever works to you. There's no right or wrong. So just see whatever comes to mind, the first thing to pop into your head. And when I do this reading, we're going to take a quick look at your past, what's come before, you know, what's brought you to where you are now. We're going to take a look at what's going on in your present, and then we're going to see what's coming next. And of course, bring forward all the guidance you need around these topics. And as I said, this could be anything: love, life, career, whatever is meant for you today at this moment in time. So let's do this. You've chosen the Moonchild Tarot. I'm going to use the Oracle cards today as well. We're going to use the charms and the tarot coins. And if this reading resonates for you, there will be an extended version which you can find the link for in the description box below. I only charge about $3 for those. And I can tell you I'm looking at a new host. I'll be hosting them myself, which will mean I can actually reduce the price of my extended readings and provide them at a much more competitive rate for you guys, so they're more accessible. I'm so excited to announce that. It's coming soon. But let's start. So I'm going to start with, as I said, what came before? Where have you been? What's been happening that's led you up to the present moment? We've got the Sun in reverse. We've got the Seven of Pentacles. We've got the Ten of Wands, the Four of Wands in reverse, and the Moon. And clarifying, we've got the Five of Pentacles. We've got Justice. We've got the Nine of Wands in reverse. Divine Wisdom, which is a bonus card in this deck. It's also in reverse. And the Six of Cups. I'm going to get some Oracle cards here as well. So this is a Moonology deck. If you're interested in what decks I'm using, I do always list them in the description box below. We've got Conclusions Are Within Reach, Full Moon Eclipse. We've just had a full moon eclipse. Hold Your Vision, Fixed Moon. And A Time for Healing, Balsamic Moon. I'm going to get some Divine Animal Oracle cards as well. The Lioness and the Gorilla. And let's go with the Goddess Power Oracle. We've got Nike, Ambition. We've got Bridget, Creative Spark. And Anya, Adaptability. Okay. So these are very big energies for you, Pile 2. And what I'm sensing is that perhaps quite some time ago, your life, the trajectory of your life changed quite dramatically. And something, whether it was a career, it may have even been a cross-country or even cross-globe change. You may have moved. to a different area, but there was a dramatic upheaval, dramatic change that left you wondering who you were. And I'm hearing this has been a very long process and learning curve for you, because you'd spent your way living a life a certain way, and when that all changed, you weren't quite sure who you were anymore. You needed to leave the person that you used to be behind you. There was a desperate need to transform yourself, to let go of some of the shadow aspects, and there was a lot of shame that you carried as a result of those experiences. It feels like you rejected yourself, you rejected the way you were living, you knew that you had to start over. But this may have been preceded by a period of shame and judgment towards self, and also a great deal of depression that came after a very long period. And my guides are referring to it as a drought, a period of kind of just being in limbo, not really being sure where to put yourself. It seemed to take a really long time. And we've got the Justice card here. You know, whilst everything was coming back into balance, you were learning so many very important lessons about who you were. And even though this was an uphill battle, it felt incredibly challenging to find yourself moving through such powerful transformation. You know, you may have felt that you really wanted to give up at times. Now, I do feel also that you've been single for a long time. There may have been some dalliances or interactions there, but nothing that actually really sparked something deep inside of you. And what I'm seeing with this Four of Wands in reverse and divine wisdom is that there is a very spiritual, very divine connection just sitting on the sidelines right now, waiting for the opportune moment to kind of come into being. And the universe is saying you are not being punished. You may have felt very alone through this period of solitude, but this time, you needed this time to reinvent yourself. You needed this time to get healthier in heart and mind, and to really connect with your own divinity, your own wisdom, to recognize that you are your own soulmate and your own best friend. And you'd previously been very concerned with how others perceived you, of living a certain way. For some reason, the word immorality is coming strongly into play. You weren't proud of how you lived or the career that you had. You didn't feel that it was in line with your own values or your sensitivities. And you really made a very concerted effort to let go of the person you were, because you just didn't like who you had become. And yet when you did that, you were left not knowing who you were at all anymore. And it's taken a very long time to rebuild and to arrive at the place that you are. Now, it feels like throughout this period, you've kind of latched on to different ideas, different sparks of inspiration about where you need to place yourself. You've tried different things, you've dipped your toes into different ponds, and you've never quite felt that you've been in the right place. It's kind of, again, this constant limbo state of just feeling very burdened by the energy of solitude, very burdened by your past and the shame that you carried of, you know, the ways you behaved. But actually, you have moved, even though it's been a long time, you've moved forward and you have transformed powerfully. We've got conclusions are within reach, hold your vision, and a time for healing. And I'm really intrigued that this is the fixed moon. It may have felt that nothing really transformed for you for a very long time, and then bang, it kind of all happened quite suddenly. You went through this kind of long healing period, and then there was a chink of light at the end of the tunnel where things started to become clearer. But throughout this process, it's been very, very valuable for you. You've learned to take care of yourself. You've learned to be self-sufficient. You've learned to find that peace within yourself. And even though your ego sometimes still rages and there's still work there to be done, you can now look back on who you were and where you are now with a great deal of pride. It does feel like that period of depression has lifted, and you know, we see this energy of ambition and drive being restored, that creative spark being lit once more, and you now moving into the energy of adapting to this new way of being. You're very much ready for a new beginning, and these are really beautiful, beautiful energies, part two. I feel like you've really been through the mill. And it really is. I'm being shown like a butterfly emerging from the cocoon after a very, very long slumber. And a sense of positivity and optimism having been restored in your heart space. Like you know now how to drop into your heart space, how to sit in the energy of gratitude. But let's look at what's going on in your present. We've got the Knight of Pentacles, the Seven of Wands, the Nine of Swords in reverse, the Hierophant, the Three of Swords in reverse, the Chariot in reverse, the Eight of Swords, the Devil in reverse, the Tower in reverse, and the Ten of Pentacles in reverse. This is so very interesting, part 2. So what we see occurring right now is you finding some balance, stability and harmony in your present. You're very much rooted right now in balancing the material aspects of your life. That's to say, you may have recently moved home or changed career. You're kind of finding your feet and finding that groundedness, that stability that's helping drive you forward. And the thing that's bothering you here is you're still not 100% certain that you've put yourself where you're meant to be. This still feels like an energy of discovery, of trying to figure it out, of trying to grasp that spark of creation and run with it. And when we see the Chariot come up in reverse, this does indicate that perhaps you're not quite on the right path. And the reason you're not is because there's still a lot of limiting beliefs here that are holding you back. There is a reluctance towards making dramatic changes in action because in truth you're just quite relieved that things have settled down somewhat and you don't want to disrupt the stability that you've created. And so you are kind of tentatively moving forward, taking baby steps, trying to rediscover where you're meant to be. But the Seven of Wands, clarified by the Eight of Swords, again, this reveals that kind of very limiting belief, that own the barriers that you create for yourself that inhibit you from seeing beyond your own limitations. A lot of these are of the mind, and so you do have this tendency to get quite anxious that you may lose what you've already built up, and that stops you from being too kind of driven. It's kind of a risk averse energy. Even though you've let go of a lot of anxiety and a lot of stress and certainly a lot of unhealthy habits, you still find yourself trapped by the habits and the coping mechanisms, the unhealthier coping mechanisms of your past. For some of you, this may be substance abuse, an addiction to wine or weed, or it may not necessarily be a substance. It could just be an unhealthy coping mechanism, a distraction that helps keep you on the straight and narrow. And even though you're high functioning and this isn't having a dramatic impact on your life, it does feel like you're still letting go of all of these kind of, I'm being shown a ball and chain, that are actually keeping you stuck. In truth, right now, you're in a place of higher learning. And what's intriguing about this is the Hierophant is a number 5 card, and we are actually in the number 5 year. 2021 reduces to number 5, the energy of high learning. Now, don't worry if you're watching this later down the line and it's no longer 2021. Remember, these are timeless readings and you found it as you're meant to. But for 2021, this is a year of higher learning. It's a year of recognizing our spiritual authority, of recognizing the truth and wisdom within our own souls and our ability to access that. And it's through this practice that you're learning to avert disaster. You have become more positive. You have become more powerful when it comes to manifesting. You found that you've already moved through the uphill battle and that things are flowing much more easily for you. And right now you should be very proud of yourself because you're ascending and learning at a rate of knots. There's very powerful transformation still occurring, but you have definitely turned a huge corner. The things that continue to hold you back now are the pain of the past within your family unit that you have yet to address. And this is because by nature, you're quite a happy-go-lucky person. You know, even though you felt really rotten in the past, you've not necessarily assigned those feelings to anything external to you. It's all been very self-focused, judging yourself. I was so wrong. You know, it's all focused on self-loathing rather than taking into account how the way you were raised and the way you were taught has actually impacted how you feel about self and life now. And I'm hearing there's a reluctance towards going there because you really love and appreciate your family. You know, even though you're aware that they weren't perfect, you know, you prefer to look on the bright side and recognize all the positive that came from those interactions. And so Spirit is reminding you that when we work through the trauma of our past, it's not about blame. It's not about attacking the people that cared for us or hating on them. It's just about being real and learning about who we are and how we were created and the unhealthy programming that we picked up along the way. There's a real need to reflect on that grief. And Spirit's also saying that you need to inquire as to why you've been single this long. In truth, you are very emotionally avoidant. You feel very empowered by being tough, by being the very strong, dynamic, I don't need anybody. This is a form of ultra independence, which is definitely a trauma response to having been let down previously in your past. And this is what's inhibiting you from moving forward and stepping into the truth of who you are. You have to acknowledge that you were hurt. You have to acknowledge that there is pain. And you have to acknowledge that this kind of tough facade you've built for yourself is merely a protective barrier that actually, you know, it may keep people at arm's length, it may keep you safe, but it also keeps love out. And you may have been single for so long that you've kind of convinced yourself that this is the better place to be. And I want to add that there's nothing wrong with being single, but you kid yourself that you're safer and happier that way, when deep down there is a very painful loneliness that you refuse to connect with and acknowledge. And if we don't acknowledge our own shadow aspects, then we don't have the power to transcend the pain that they create for us and the distortions that, you know, result in our upcoming reality. So there's definitely a need to invest in some kind of talking therapy, as much as there's a need to continue learning about yourself. I'm hearing that you've been too self-sufficient, and that sometimes when we express things out loud rather than having conversations with ourselves in our head, that actually gives us an opportunity to see things from a different perspective and to reframe our experience in a way we may not have done if we didn't have that kind of third-party objectivity. So talking therapy with a very skilled psychotherapist will really help you to unravel your own shortcomings. As I said, there are a lot of very defensive limiting beliefs here. Your ego is still very fragile. You're not very good at identifying your own weaknesses. You're not very good at self-reflection. You have a very either a very harsh view of yourself or a very grandiose view of yourself. You cope with that harsh self-loathing and those insecurities by allowing your ego to prop you up and tell you you're amazing, you're brilliant, you did nothing wrong. And there's nothing wrong with that energy, providing you're being truthful about the bit in the middle. Because the truth is, whilst a lot of these things weren't necessarily your fault, it's not about beating yourself up. We do have to be real about ourselves in terms of how the choices we have made have had an impact on our lives. And what I'm hearing is you're not very good at taking responsibility for your own shadow aspects or identifying your own shadow aspects. You tend to shy away from those things, and you're very defensive in conversation. So you may find that when someone else says something about who you are that to your mind is less than complimentary, and it may not be intended as a dig or a criticism, but you're so hypersensitive to this that you receive it as such. And this is one of the other traits within you that keeps other people at a distance. So yeah, there is a little bit of grandiosity here, and that's just the ego at work. And even though you're learning to transcend that, what you also need to do is learn to step into it and be honest about it being there, to be real with yourself. In truth, I believe you were raised by very narcissistic people. I feel like perhaps on the maternal side more than the paternal. And even though you're not a narcissist, what's occurred as a result of the way you were raised is that you've adopted a lot of very narcissistic traits. And this happens to us all. You know, we learn from what we're exposed to. So again, it doesn't mean that you're narcissistic, but it does mean that there are a lot of narcissistic behaviors at play here that you're not acknowledging or are not aware of. And this all roots back to a very fragile and wounded ego that wasn't properly supported in childhood. And so I feel like this time of learning for you is when you're opening up to this awareness and becoming more receptive to it. You're receiving this message about yourself now because you're ready to. You know, you weren't ready to do this last year or the year before, but your consciousness is expanding, your awareness is expanding. There's a genuine need and desire to better yourself. And I hate the term bettering yourself actually, because you're good enough as you are, but it's about, what's the word? It's about expanding. It's about being more than, and you always have the opportunity to grow in every direction. And you're hungry for this right now. You want to know who you are. You want to be real with yourself. You want to transcend those egoic behaviors. There's even an awareness that they're wrong, but it's a fleeting acknowledgement with you, kind of like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have done that. And then, you know, the moment passes and you put it behind you. You tend not to dwell in that energy and allow yourself to sit in deep introspection. So I'm really guided to recommend the holistic psychologist to you. You can find her on Instagram and YouTube, but she talks a lot about the wounded ego and how it behaves, and I think this will be really relevant to your journey and experience. But Spirit also wants to give you a huge pat on the back, because you really have risen from the ashes. You have transformed your life. You've left behind a life or career you weren't proud of to start building one that is more aligned with your own values. And even though you're not where you would like to be, even though you're not confident that you've found your true path, you are on your way to it, and you're feeling much more optimistic about what can come next. So overall, these are very positive energies. You know, they indicate your potential now to transform and grow, and your potential to move in the right direction, the direction that's meant for you. So let's see what's coming next here. What's coming next for you, pile 2? I've got the Page of Swords in reverse, the Three of Wands, the Hermit, the Six of Swords, the Ten of Swords in reverse, Shadow Work in reverse, the Six of Wands, the Magician in reverse, the King of Cups, and Moonchild also in reverse. We're going to get some more, let's get some more animals, some more cards here for what's next. We've got the Swan, we've got the Owl, we've got the Fruit Bat or Flying Fox, the Chameleon. I feel like the Chameleon is particularly significant to you. And the Red Fox. So Fox energy has come through twice. Okay. So what's coming next? I have to say that without much effort, you're going to find yourself carried in the right direction. You're about to level up in your career. You're about to find fulfillment, victory, success in a very profound way. But there's also a message here that it may not look like what you expected it to look like. And to count your blessings and to sit in gratitude for what's coming, even if it isn't specifically what you asked for. And in that respect, the universe is asking you to be a bit more careful about what you affirm and what you try to manifest, to leave the request open-ended. And this actually came up in pile 1, and I think it's very good advice for anybody actually. But when we try and manifest, the more specific we are, the more limiting the request becomes. You know, the universe wants to give us what we want, but certain things are either not possible or not meant for us. So rather than being really deliberate and very specific in your requests, try and concentrate on why you want what you want and what feelings that would create, and allow that to be your request. For example, you know, your request might be for a loving and healthy relationship with a tall, dark, handsome person that's got loads of money, has a great career and can look after you. So that's really specific. You know, much better to ask for a loving, healthy relationship that's going to help you feel stable and secure. You know, the minute you start being deliberately specific, the minute you narrow the opportunity for the universe to deliver what's meant for you. When the Page of Swords comes up in reverse, this is an indication that you're leaving behind a lot of that inner child wounded that created a lot of the toxic behaviors that you turned away from. But there is still shadow work here to be done, and ignore it at your peril. In fact, with the Hermit coming up here, clarified by the Magician in reverse, you're being reminded that whilst you have all the earthly skills and tools that you need to be successful, they are effectively redundant without that powerful energy of introspection, self-reflection, and radical self-honesty. You're being reminded that to step into your truth, to step into your true path, you don't just need the skills and tools that you've picked up along your earthly life. You need to be able to go within and assess from a very deep and meaningful place, from your higher self, your higher wisdom, to understand how best to move forward. And we do see you moving forward. You know, the Six of Swords is about leaving all of that discomfort, leaving the storm behind and moving into calmer waters. And we've got Scorpio energy here with the King of Cups. This is about finally mastering your emotions. You are moving into an energy where you're more readily able to recognize when you've been triggered and to not react to those triggers in the way that you used to. It doesn't mean that the triggers are gone. It doesn't mean that you're a brand new person in every sense of the word. What it means is that where you have previously may have reacted badly or in an emotionally impulsive way, you're going to be finding yourself recognizing that trigger and choosing a different way to respond. And this leads to a greater level of awareness. We see a lot of healing happening here. The Ten of Swords being that cycle that's closed out, but you've still got some of that to navigate. And again, with that shadow work in reverse, you're being reminded not to ignore the shadow aspects. You will stay stuck in that cycle until you face them. And again, this roots back to ego behavior and your reluctance to step into your own intuition. If you can't get past your ego, you can't connect with your higher self. And I want you to think of it in terms of a computer. Yeah, the ego is actually the operating system. So when you boot up your computer and Windows starts up, you recognize that the operating system is running everything, yeah, in the background. You might have other software or programs running. You might open, you know, Word or Microsoft Office or whatever. But the operating system's doing the work in the background. But you understand that you are not the operating system. You're the person controlling the operating system and choosing how to use it. And this is a perfect analogy for what it means to connect with our higher self, to recognize that the ego is the operating system, and right now you are living within it. You're not sitting behind the computer and really maintaining control. You're running all of those programs subconsciously without even thinking about it, and you're stuck in that egoic cycle, which gives you access to much less power. And you're going to need this power to step into your victory. So you're being asked to recognize that you are not the operating system. You are not the ego. You're being asked to get behind it in the same way you sit behind a computer and control it. And so this is all about really connecting with the truth of who you are. We've got the Swan here. And I'm really intrigued that we see, it's called Beauty in this deck, but we see this lady with a blindfold. She's holding up this bubble, which is a very intangible thing to the Swan. And so there's too much focus here on your material world and what love means. You may have convinced yourself that to attract love into your life, you have to improve yourself some more. You have to be a certain kind of person. And I do feel that a lot of this pertains to how your appearance is right now. You may be going through the idea of wanting surgery or needing to fix something about yourself so that you can be worthy of love. And Spirit is asking you to consider that this is not why you're single. This is one of those very limiting false beliefs you hide about yourself. And when you sit in this false energy, this false belief of believing I'm single because I'm not attractive enough, or because I don't look a certain way, because I don't have a certain lifestyle, you're essentially drawing yourself away from the valuable learning that can occur when you look at the truth. The reason you're single is because you're avoidant, because you haven't addressed your own wounding, and that you have a barrier up, very strong defenses, a hypersensitivity to the perception of others, which you haven't addressed. Again, there's shadow work here, but you must trust that you have access to so much wisdom, and that in that wisdom you have access to so much more stability, so much more power and control over your life, which is ultimately what you want. At the moment, you're very focused on controlling other people's perceptions of you through impressing upon them with your words who you are. And you don't need to tell anyone who you are. You know, that in itself reveals how insecure you truly feel, that you need to impress upon others who you are. And this could look like speaking a different way when you're around people, wearing certain clothes so that you fit in and are perceived a certain way. You know, you're not really being your true self. You're constructing this persona to help you feel safe and accepted. And this really reveals where your insecurities lie. You need to be much kinder to yourself, and you need to recognize how harsh your judgments are sometimes of others as well. Again, the way you judge yourself, in particular your appearance, reveals how you feel about other people. You know, generally when we don't accept ourselves, we don't accept those same things about others. So this could be something as simple as, you know, I don't know, maybe you think you've got really bad hair, and you'll find yourself looking at other people and thinking, oh God, that person's got really awful hair. You know, usually what we judge in others, what we see in others that we don't like, is quite often indicative of what we don't like within ourselves. And so you're being asked to go deep, to dig deep, and to recognize how unpleasant you are to yourself at times, and how much self-loathing is there behind this very grandiose, egoic, kind of optimistic, you're great as you are. You know, it's all well and good telling yourself you're great, but not at the expense of ignoring the shadow aspects and not being real with yourself. This is a double-edged sword. You know, you've been taught to be positive, but there is such a thing as toxic positivity. Toxic positivity is when we affirm great things and ignore the negative stuff underneath it. You can't build a house on a shit pit. You know, you can't build a firm foundation on rocky ground. You have to smooth it over and deal with that first so that you can build safely. The chameleon, remember you had Anya and adaptability. You know, there's major change and transformation coming in your life, and the strategy for this will unfold as you move forward. The answers are all coming to you, but again, this is a period of high learning. It's a period of deep discovery for yourself. I don't see love coming in for you yet, but I do see love waiting in the wings. There is a very highly evolved, very healthy and loving partner just waiting to step into your zone of awareness when the opening is created for them. Right now, it's not created because you still need this energy of solitude to really step into your own truth. And you're almost there, but you're not quite there yet. As I said, this opening is being created now for you to step through it, but it's still concealed for you whilst you navigate the lessons that are presenting. This is about really recognizing the truth of your own emotional dysfunction, the family patterns that you still carry that you're not aware of, that you've refused to address, and this false sense of self. You know, you think you know who you are, but in truth, you're only scratching the surface. You're listening to the voice of the ego rather than getting above it and listening to the voice of your soul. So let's get some guidance for you in terms of how to move forward. I'm going to use the charms and the tarot coins as well. Let's get some oracle cards first. Choose friends wisely. Tune out distractions. Ask with sincerity. Admit your vulnerabilities. Powerful guidance there. And from the Goddess Power deck, Persephone, inexperience. Parvati, devotion. Ocean, generosity. And Arianhood, time. So let's get some charms as well. Whew, let's put those two back because they're just the backs. Right, we've got the Pentacle. This is a powerful sign of new beginnings, protection and abundance. I'm trying, and that's enough. The IPHM symbol, I'll explain what that means in a moment. The asthma pump. Fix a broken heart. And then we've got all of these tiny ones here. I'm just going to bring them all up at once because they're really dinky. We have got... I hope you can see these. Love has come up twice there. There's a magic wand, a kite, some baby feet, number one teacher, and a gift. So I'm just going to put all of those down, all those tiny ones. The tiny ones don't come out very often, I guess because they're so small, they get lost at the bottom of the bowl. So it's interesting that so many came for you. Choose friends wisely, Persephone, and experience. Unfortunately, Pile 2, you are surrounded by a lot of people who aren't growing. And it's a very hard truth to face when you realise that you're outgrowing the people that you choose to spend time with. Now, you've already been propelled in a new direction. You may find that your friends are very triggered by this. You know, they may be envious or jealous. They're not necessarily recognizing the need to support you and be, you know, happy for you and to congratulate you. The message here is that reveals more about them than it does about you. You know, people that are very triggered by your success or your growth are generally just feeling very rotten about themselves, and they're so bitter and so envious that they can't get past that energy to be happy for you. So this doesn't mean anything bad about you. What it does mean is that you need to recognize the need to make new friends. You know, to recognize that these people are no longer in support of the kind of person you're becoming, and that's okay. It doesn't mean they're bad friends. It just means you've changed and that you're moving in different directions. Tune out distractions. And I'm drawn straight to the Fix a Broken Heart bottle. Remember, we said there could be some kind of substance here that you use as a coping mechanism to numb your pain. You need to be devoted to your own pain. You need to be devoted to the hurt that's within you. You need to be devoted to yourself and just start tuning out all of these unhealthy coping mechanisms that are keeping you stuck. We've got ask with sincerity and generosity. And the thing is, and I'm trying to think how to word this diplomatically. In recent years, you have taken more than you have given. And I feel that with the changes and the challenges that you have faced, it has humbled you. It's made you more aware of how many people put you first, stuck their neck out for you, and how much you needed those people but weren't necessarily reciprocal in those arrangements. So you're being asked to recognize, to balance the give and take in your life, to show more respect and gratitude to the people that have propped you up, and to live a life that gives as much as it takes. You're being asked to step into the energy of integrity, you know, to honor those that have taken care of you, even though they perhaps didn't have a lot even for themselves, and yet they still chose to give in abundance. There's definitely a message here about balancing that, what I want to call the selfish gene, you know, that kind of the lack of recognition around the reciprocal arrangement in a loving relationship. Sometimes we do take more than we're able to give back, and that's okay. We can't always exist in perfect harmony and balance, but I'm hearing that you are at a stage in your life now where you can start to be more generous and loving with your time. And you have felt very, shall we say, possessive of your time and your assets and your ability to share. And this is something you're being asked to reconsider. Admit your vulnerabilities. And then we've got Arianhood with time. So this is what we were talking about with the shadow aspects. Yes, it's really good to have a positive mindset, to see the good in ourselves, but you're not being honest about the self-loathing that exists within you. And why these kind of approval-seeking behaviours come to the surface is because deep down there's a lot of shadow there, a lot of pain, a lot of feeling inferior. There's definitely an inferiority complex which is hidden by this grandiosity and this kind of egoic pomp. And so you're being asked to give that time. Again, talking therapy is recommended, but you were born abundant. You're a very fortunate person, and you were always meant to be stable and successful. This isn't about beating yourself up. In fact, Spirit reminds you you're trying, and that is always enough. We can't really do more than that. Learn to take a breather when you need it. You know, don't beat yourself up. Give as much as you can give of your time when it comes to bettering yourself, and learn when to slow down and take a step back. The IPHM one, I like to explain this because it's a bit of a confusing one. I received this badge from IPHM, and you can see there it says accredited member. Hopefully you can see that. So IPHM is an organisation that accredits holistic practitioners. So my being a member, it means they've checked me out, they've looked at my qualifications, and they've given me their stamp of approval, which says, yes, Charlotte is a professional holistic practitioner, you know, and you can go and look me up on their database. So when this comes up, this really is a nod towards holistic practices. And I think you have skills beyond what you've currently acknowledged, and you may still be exploring these. I'm hearing that you've barely scratched the surface, and actually it makes you feel a bit strange because it's so out of sync with where you've placed yourself before. Again, you're being asked to remember your chameleon nature. We've also got the baby symbol here. You may be a mum, or a father or a single parent, and there's so much love coming through in your life. You're being asked to remember that you are a teacher to this person. You are a caregiver, and you know that is a beautiful gift, but it's your magic wand that shapes this person's reality and their perception of who they are. And you can only do that authentically and with congruence if you know who you are. So this is why you're being asked to face yourself, you know, to recognize that you have a beautiful and powerful responsibility, and to allow that to be a driving factor in, you know, rediscovering the truth of who you are and digging deep, digging out those wounds and really assessing, you know, where you need to focus on healing, because it's not as black and white as you would believe it is. There is a lot of grey areas, and as I said, that grandiosity keeps you from the truth. Yes, it's good to self-soothe, you're very good at that, but it doesn't necessarily heal the trauma that was already there. So I really hope that was helpful for you, part 2. I'm going to take this over to the extended. So if this resonated for you, you can find the link to the extended in the description box down below. We're going to go a little bit deeper in the energies we've already read from. I want to understand more about that childhood trauma so we can bring through clearer messages about how you can transcend that. I want to understand more as well about this potential career path and where you're at currently with that. And perhaps about this love interest as well that's waiting in the wings. So the link to that's down below. But thank you so much for joining me here today. It really has been a pleasure to read for you. I appreciate you guys so much. You really are so loving and generous in your time. When you hit the like button and you subscribe or leave me a lovely comment, I love to hear your feedback and I appreciate it so much. And a very special and big thanks to those of you that take the time to watch my commercials. That really does make the biggest difference to my channel. I appreciate it so very much, and thank you for being so generous with your time and exchanging energy with me that way. So lots of love. I will see you next time. Bye. Hello pile 3, welcome to your reading. You have chosen the lovely Omens Tarot and this piece of Angelite. And we are asking today, what is the path forward for you, pile 3? What's coming next in love, life and career? What do you need to know about yourself to move forward for your highest good and with as much grace, abundance and joy as possible? So whilst I'm shuffling, just set the intention that you're ready and willing to receive the messages that are meant for you. You can also ask for a sign, and this just helps you discern and validate the messages that come through for you. You may notice as well that any signs you ask for appear outside of the reading in some other area of your life as well. And a sign can be anything at all. It can be an animal, a symbol, an object, a god, goddess or deity. It can be a number, phrases, a name, whatever works for you. So this is a new reading, and because we're looking at kind of all areas, I think the best way to do this is for me to look at what's come before. We're going to take a look at the past, what's led up to this moment. We're going to take a look at your present, and then we're going to look at where you're actually heading and bring forward the guidance associated with that. And you know, when we look at your past and your present, that's the most validating part of the reading really, because it's the bit that you know to be true. You know, that will help you more readily accept the messages that come through regarding your future in terms of how you need to move forward. So it can help as well to make a note in the comments of which pile you've chosen today. YouTube has a habit of recommending these readings at a later date. Because you don't watch the whole reading and you only watch one more pile, you know, they'll think, oh, you know, you might want to watch the rest of this video, and it usually pops up exactly when it's meant to. It's all in divine timing. So if you've made a note in the comments of which pile you've watched today, you'll know not to go over old ground and to choose a different pile for next time. Sometimes you might choose the same pile and maybe you need to listen again. That's okay as well. So there's no right or wrong really. But I love the seemingly perfect divine order of when YouTube brings these readings up for us. Isn't it magical the way that works? We seem to get the messages we're meant to at the right time. Okay, we're going to use the oracle cards. We're going to use the charms. There will be an extended reading today for those of you that really resonate with this. But let's start by taking a look at what's in your past, what's come before now, what's led up to this moment. We have got strength, beautiful. I actually wrote about the strength card on my community page yesterday. Wow, and the Hermit. What a beautiful sync. We've got the Ace of Wands in reverse. We've got the Queen of Swords. We've got the Four of Swords. And the Hanged Man in reverse. And clarifying, we've got the Eight of Pentacles in reverse. We've got the Seven of Cups. The Ace of Cups in reverse. The Moon in reverse. The Three of Cups in reverse. And the Two of Swords in reverse. Let's get some oracle cards as well. I'm going to start with the Goddess Power deck. If you're interested in what decks I'm using, I always list them in the description box below. We've got Sophia, Divine Wisdom. Morrigan, Death and Magic. And Great Goddess, Sacred Unity. And what else should we use? Let's use the Divine Animals Oracle. We've got Armadillo and Red Fox. And from the Moonology deck, Surrender to the Divine, Full Moon. Work through your fears, New Moon in Scorpio. And your loved ones are safe, New Moon in Cancer. Okay, pile 3. So what's happened? I feel like the last few months have been a very powerful test for you. You've definitely been working on your own healing, your ascension and your light. And you are exceptionally skilled and well educated when it comes to psychic and spiritual matters. In fact, it feels like you have an almost encyclopedic knowledge of spiritual stuff. And yet, even though there's attempts here to put it into a literal practice, it doesn't seem to be flowing in the right way for you. And so there's been a lot of resistance. There's been a lot of frustration as to why those practices haven't taken off in the way that you would have liked them to. This has caused, it's like a crashing down of your perception of self. There probably aren't many people that are as educated on these topics as you are. And yet when you put them into practice, the right message isn't coming through and you're not seeing the kind of traction that you would have liked. In truth, you've simply hit a very difficult learning curve on your own journey, your own, in your own healing. You've hit a very difficult shadow aspect, which is rooted in an overwhelming fear of failure. It's like, on the one hand, your logical mind understands your skill. It understands your commercial ability. It understands your strengths. But there's a lot of ego at play here as well. There's a deep-rooted inferiority complex born of quite extreme abandonment issues in your childhood, and this likely roots back to the primary caregiver or on the maternal side. Even though you're capable of great introspection, a lot of what you're tapping into is the fantasy or blissful elements of what helps you feel good. There seems to be a block or barrier here when it comes to your truth. And I'm really drawn to how we have two aces in reverse that reveal those blocks. It's like an inability to break through, to step into self-love, to step into self-empowerment. It's like it's always beyond your reach, and yet your logical mind knows exactly what you need to do. It knows exactly what's required for you to take that next step. But it's like the truth of what's going to work or, you know, going to unlock those blockages remains hidden or elusive to you. When the Queen of Swords comes out, sorry, I'm just listening to what Arthur's saying. There's been a tendency to assert yourself in quite egoic ways, which has blocked you from your own intuitive guidance. There's a lot of triggers occurring here that you don't necessarily recognize within yourself. It comes through with the energy of indignance and incredulousness, and it's rooted in that fear of being treated as you were in childhood. And so you often see things in people you're interacting with that aren't actually there. It's an old wound that's being triggered, and those old feelings kind of coming up and overwhelming your system and creating all of this very very defensive and very triggered, quite cutting energy. And there's a lot of kind of pointing the finger of blame when this happens, rather than identifying the wound within yourself. And so this kind of really reveals to you where the blockage is. You have a very sharp mind. You're very, very intellectual. You're very smart. But that can sometimes be a weakness as much as it's a strength, because in your mind you feel a certain energy of rightness about the stuff that comes up. You're not recognizing that it's connected to a wound rather than connected to your truth. Again, this is why we have the Queen of Swords here, clarified by the Moon in reverse, a propensity to stick with what the mind is informing you. Oh, good God, there's a massive hornet. Let me just get a glass, bear with me. Woo. Okay, that was interesting, part 3. I can cope with wasps and bees, but I can't cope with a hornet hovering around me. They're obviously quite aggressive. But I think it was very interesting that that animal came through for you. And I want you to think about what hornet energy actually symbolizes, because hornets are very easily triggered, we could say. They are hyper defensive. They will attack with very little provocation. And I think this really affirms the message that's come through. Now, I'm going to be real with you. I haven't done a great deal of research into hornets. It's not a power animal or spirit animal that's presented to me or I've worked with, but I feel it's particularly relevant to you as it appeared in this reading. And certainly the way I'm perceiving it as being easily angered, you know, very defensive, seems to kind of work in line with what we've been talking about in terms of you being very triggered. And not trusting your intuition, allowing the ego or the wounding within you to overwhelm those experiences. And so I encourage you to do some research about hornet as a spiritual animal or totem animal to understand the deeper meaning of that animal presenting for you in your reading. I've completely lost where I was, so I'm just going to pick up where I think I left off, which is, again, you know, reverting back to this moon in the reverse, which is also symbolic of fear. You know, it does remind you that when these triggers come in and they come thick and fast and hard and heavy, that it's tapping into a deep-rooted fear of that abandonment repeating itself. When anyone demonstrates an energy of non-acceptance, or perhaps they give the impression that they're not hearing you or understanding you or listening to you or giving you the attention and value that you feel you deserve, the trigger runs so deep and so painfully that it floods all of your senses and overwhelms your ability to tap into the truth and your higher soul, which you very much have the ability to do. You are in a period of recovery, and you may have found that you've moved very deeply into the Hermit energy through this period. When the Four of Swords comes up, clarified by the Three of Cups in reverse, this shows there's a period of recovery that's required a detachment from social interactions. So you may have found that you've kind of let go of a lot of friendships or moved away from your usual social interactions in order to focus on yourself and pursue this healing. But there is a lot of very confused energies here in your past that have led you to where you are now. I'm hearing for you there is a kind of spiritual dynamic or relationship that you've been navigating as well that hasn't come to union or fruition, and that this still causes you a great deal of pain. And again, you have all the skills and all the tools and all the understanding to help you navigate this process, but it's kind of like on two layers. It's like that understanding's here and you need to connect it with your own self, with your own kind of truth. And even though you can see it and read it and understand it, you can't quite bring those energies together. And so you've probably experienced a long period of separation with this person. I'm hearing from my guides that there's sporadic bouts of communication which are very unsatisfying. They don't yield anything that's reassuring you or helping you anchor faith in this connection. There may be an age gap in that relationship as well, in which you're noticing that that person is growing at a much slower pace than you. But Spirit's asking you to recognize that in truth, you're on a similar trajectory when it comes to the ascension process. They may not have the maturity to articulate themselves or their understanding of it in the way you can. They certainly don't have the education behind them. But what they do have is a deep and profound psychic gift and awareness, which they simply don't know how to use. When the two of you come together, it's going to be very powerful. But right now you are not in a state of surrender, even though you would like to be. And I feel that this has simply become a very long and painful battle for you. You know, again, all the steps towards surrender, you seemingly take them, and yet you don't seem to arrive at where you want to. And we've got this surrender to the divine, just surrender and accept. And it just continues, that energy continues to elude you. Again, we see that you have access to this divine wisdom. You know, you can tap into it. You can tap into this understanding. Morrigan brings forward death and magic, which is the energy of transformation and resurrection. And again, I get this impression that you're very skilled. You're very worldly when it comes to these matters. You understand sacred unity in a profound way. In the past, this defensiveness is what's held you back, and the focus on strategy is what's kept you stuck. Again, that fear of failure impairs your working life. It feels like no matter how hard you work or how much effort you put in, abundance seems to just not quite connect for you. And you worry about the people you need to take care of. You worry about taking care of yourself. And this continues to manifest more of the same fear-based energy for you. And again, you revert to the mind being strategic, trying to operate logically. What's really interesting about this is that there's a huge disconnect here from the emotional self. You know, even though there's a tendency to daydream and look towards the future, there's a reluctance towards acknowledging the feelings or really being able to connect with them in the moment. It's like you can see and read them at a distance, almost as though you were speaking to someone else, but you can't always feel them. And so you're being asked to recognize how profoundly, pardon me, how profoundly the wounds of the past continue to affect you, and how much you need to focus on them as a means to work through them. And we have got new moon in Scorpio here. Work through your fears. And I want you to remember the energy of Scorpio. It shows up again here with the death card. It's the energy of resurrection. Scorpio energy can go from one extreme to the other. It can sit in the very pits of darkness, and it can ascend to the extremities of profoundly beautiful light. You have this ability, but you have to learn to control it, to gain some perspective, which is going to help you be more decisive from an intuitive place. You are safe. You know, it's your fear that doesn't allow you to sit in faith of that. There's a constant fear of not having enough, despite your very hard-working intentions. But I do feel that the focus is too external for you. You know, you're not taking responsibility for the way that you're triggered. You're very quick to blame the people around you, to recognize the dysfunction in their behaviors, but to not question if they're touching upon a deeper wound that is actually creating the discomfort that transpires, you know, when these difficult conversations occur. And so such a great deal of contradictory energies here. You know, on the one hand, you've done a tremendous amount of spiritual work. You have a tremendous amount of spiritual awareness, but this disconnect from the emotional body and the propensity to stay in the mind and to remain in the energy of indignance and to work with logic and rationale is what inhibits you from, you know, really recovering through this process. I'm hearing with this Three of Cups energy, having kind of dismissed some friendships, perhaps wasn't necessarily for your greater good, and that you ought to seek out friends of a like-minded nature that understand the journey you're on, and trust their honest feedback. It does feel like you may have judged loved ones and the people around you quite unfairly, because things they've said or done have triggered these very deep wounds of the past. And again, that connects back to a very painful energy of abandonment. Right, so let's get some cards here to look at the present energies around you. What's going on in your present? We've got the Knight of Cups in reverse. We've got Justice in reverse. The Two of Cups. The Nine of Wands. The Page of Swords. And the Emperor. And clarifying, we've got the Ten of Cups. The Chariot. Beautiful energies. The Six of Wands in reverse. The Queen of Wands in reverse. The Hierophant. And the Star. I'm going to get some more animal oracle cards for you. got the peacock, the hare, the seahorse. I heard Pisces moon as I pulled that. The snake and the dolphin. You have given up chasing to a degree. That's to say you've given up the actions and behaviors that caused you to chase that person, this person you're spiritually involved with. The Ten of Cups reminds us that you're focused more firmly on the family unit you have and cultivating that sanctuary and stability for yourself. When Justice comes up in reverse, it reminds us, especially clarified by the Chariot, that there's a lot of divine intervention right now surrounding karma and the lessons that you're wrapping up relating to that. And we've got cycles here coming up underneath that, and the hare, which reminds me this is connected to your divine femininity, and the fact that this is a 31, the energy of the Emperor or the divine masculine. You know, this really connects to how you're very much stuck in that controlling masculine energy. And even the peacock, which is associated with ego, comes up for you here. And so, you know, this is really getting past that need to control. And so you're being asked to review from where the need to control arises. In truth, controlling behavior is actually rooted in fear. When we try and control something, what we're essentially trying to do is protect ourselves, keep ourselves safe, and create a positive outcome that's healthy and happy for us. So it's, you know, even though it may seem egoic and distorted, in truth, it's actually rooted in fear and a desire to remain safe. And so this is what you need to shake. Again, because you weren't made to feel safe in childhood, this strong energy or impulse to control the outcome of things is quite overpowering in you. It works really well when you're applying yourself to commercial projects, or at least has done for you in the past. But what you're finding is that you're being asked to transcend that now and move into a more feminine, more divinely guided way of being. And this is where the interaction isn't occurring. Again, it's like the emotional body's over here, the mind's over here, and the two aren't connecting in the middle. I do think with this person, it's a kind of constant, ongoing, sporadic communication. You very rarely feel satisfied or victorious in what's transpired between you, but you're at least relieved that, you know, neither one of you has given up. There is a message here that you do sometimes use your feminine charms or sexuality to manipulate the situation or to get what you want. And so even though you've kind of deliberately turned your back on your chasing ways, you're being asked to recognize how they still exist beneath the surface. We've got the Page of Swords here clarified by the Hierophant as well. And this reveals the lessons that you're learning right now. And it's about communication, and specifically communicating from a much more mature and balanced mindset. You know, remember, Hierophant is the number 5 card. This is the number of high learning and transition. And indeed, we're you know, 2021 at the time of uploading, we are in the energy of the Hierophant throughout this year. This is a year of learning. It's a year of transformation, transition. And you're releasing those cutting inner child cycles of communication. You know, you haven't released them yet. When you are triggered, you revert back to those patterns of communication that supported you and helped you in childhood, but they are no longer relevant to who you are now and what you're trying to achieve. And that's where your focus of learning needs to be. Again, we've got the Emperor and the Star, that desire to control, that desire to maintain stability. You know, you may try and sit in a fairly optimistic energy, but then feel crushed when you wonder why you're not manifesting that despite your so-called optimism. And that's because, again, you know, the fears, they kind of simmer beneath the surface and disrupt the progress of that happy abundance. The seahorse here, it's labelled equality. And again, I think that's so interesting because of the disparity or disconnect that we're actually seeing between the masculine and feminine bodies. This is really about coming into unity with yourself. And it was there, the great goddess, sacred unity, you know, aligning the emotional body with your mind so that you can benefit from both energies and really start operating from that place of wholeness. And we've got snake here as well, the energy of growth, change, life and creation. It's a divinely feminine symbol, but it's also very transformative. And this is probably very uncomfortable for you. You know, change is never easy. It requires us to move out of our comfort zone. When snakes shed skin, it's an incredibly painful process for them that they try and resist until they literally cannot resist it any longer. But we've got dolphin here. You know, there are energies of happiness around you that are supporting this transformation and trying to uplift you and move you forward. Spirit is on your side and it's always with you. And for some reason, you don't always trust your own spiritual instincts or lean in to your own spiritual guidance. You're much more inclined to look for it outside of yourself. I'm hearing that you do actually channel a lot of the guidance you need when you're channeling for others. And again, it does feel like you're pursuing a spiritual practice in a career way, you know, perhaps reading for other people or doing some kind of holistic work for other people. And even though that may not be proving particularly fruitful for you when it comes to financial gain, Spirit is asking you to recognize the beautiful gift provided through the lessons that you're channeling, not just for the people receiving them, but for yourself as well. You know, because you're so reluctant to lean back into Spirit and receive that guidance yourself and open your emotional body to those lessons, Spirit will always find a way of communicating with you in the most direct way possible. And so when you channel for others, a lot of messages that come through, you may get frustrated because they all seem very similar to your own situation, but in truth that's how they are intended to be. You know, those messages are meant for you as much as they are meant for others. Okay, so let's see what's coming next. I have to say, Path 3, I've got this kind of, it feels like a blockage in my heart space, and more than anything I would describe it as frustration. It's like, you know, it's there, but you don't know how to shift it. It just feels like a heavy blockage that weighs in on you in your heart space. You do have the capacity to feel and the capacity to love very deeply. But this is about aligning that energy with the mind. It's about connecting the throat and the heart so they can flow smoothly. I feel like the blockage for you exists there in the heart space. That's the chakra that's not flowing harmoniously for you. So let's see what's coming next and what the guidance is for you. We've got the Ace of Swords in reverse, the Six of Swords, the Five of Swords, the King of Swords, the Five of Wands, and the King of Wands. How interesting. 2 5s followed by a king each. Clarifying, we've got the Three of Pentacles in reverse, the Queen of Pentacles in reverse, the Sun in reverse, the World, the Ten of Swords, and the Seven of Wands in reverse. I want to get some more. Let's get the Starseed cards for you. You're not alone. The Void. There may be a new relationship in your present as well. That came through earlier, very, very briefly. And I don't think you're really interested. Portal. But it's kind of a distracting pleasure. And we the Hathors. Okay, so what's coming for you? I'm drawn immediately to void energy. Void energy on this spiritual path is very intense and very beautiful and very worthwhile, although it can feel a bit like nothingness when it arises. When I moved through the void, I felt very disconnected from everything and everyone. There was just a feeling of nothingness. Nothing mattered. I wasn't miserable, but neither was I, you know, really that content. It was just I don't even want to say apathy, because it was more neutral than that. But it says here, stop, embrace winter, great cosmic womb. Now, when we move through the void, what's essentially happening is that we're leveling up. we're being upgraded, and so we're suspended in this state of nothingness while that all occurs. It's an opportunity to bring everything back into balance without facing the discomfort of that kind of turbulent change. And so I do feel like, first and foremost, you may find yourself, and we've got portal here as well, doors are opening, you decide, rewards a wild card. You know, you will have an opportunity to transcend and move through the difficulties and discomfort that you have been feeling. It may make you feel disconnected temporarily, but it does kind of empower you to accelerate that healing process. We've got the Ace of Swords clarified by the Three of Pentacles, and you're not alone. Physical connection and community. And it's so interesting that the Three of Pentacles has come up reversed here, and the Ace of Swords. And I want to touch back on that message we had about friendships earlier. It feels like there may have been some conflict, confrontation, some kind of rejection in your friendship group or social group, you having stepped away from those kind of energies. But you're being reminded that you're not as alone as you think you are, and that the community is there for you, that you can collaborate, and that this is going to help you connect with your truth. You were triggered by something that occurred there, and that your perception of that is somewhat distorted, and you're being asked to revisit that incident so that you can move forward with more stability. And we have got the Six of Swords here. You know, you can trust that the very kind of turbulent energies you've been facing recently are about to kind of level out, but we're not seeing you step into abundance just yet. There is still so much for you to learn and transcend. There's still this inner conflict connected to what happiness actually means. And it says here, I remember the soul plan, the fated life versus the destiny life. You're being asked to trust in divine order. A big part of your inhibiting factors is this constant impatience, and also this feeling, again, it's indignance. Why me? Why is this happening? Why can't I get past this? You know, this frustration and impatience and indignance overwhelms you and creates such a lot of inner distortion, which keeps you out of alignment. Again, this is all about aligning the mind with the heart. And we see here with the King of Swords, clarified by the world, that you are moving to completion in at least a stage of settling the mind and adopting a more mature communication style. But with the Ten of Swords here, you know, there's still this energy of competition and comparison. Comparing yourself to other people, observing what other people are doing and wondering why you're not blessed with the same successes or abundance or achievements. As far as you can tell, you work hard, if not harder than other people. You educate yourself, you take the time to be the very best version of yourself, and you feel very entitled to the success and abundance that should be born of that. And you get very frustrated and cross with yourself that this isn't transpiring for you. And yet you manifest more of this with your own belief and that inferiority complex that, again, is rooted in that inner child wound. Because in truth, if you valued yourself, you wouldn't be comparing yourself to others in the first place. You know, you, let alone feeling envious or hard done by. And so there is a lot of pain here that still needs to transcend. But we do see you releasing some of these spiritual barriers and connecting with the heart space. Deep love, mother's milk, birth as a portal, we the Hathors. I want you to remember who Hathor is as a goddess. She's the mother goddess. She's all about divine feminine energy. She's all about connecting with that beautiful nurturing energy that resides within us. And I have to say, overall for you, Pile 3, you need to mother yourself. This is actually a process of reparenting and giving yourself that love that's been missing for a very long time from your experience. The pain and all the triggers, they're all rooted in the child experience and the connection to the mother wound. Definitely some kind of abandonment there. Perhaps you didn't grow up with your mum, or perhaps you had a really challenging relationship with them in which you felt very rejected. But that wound runs very deep, and at the moment it's poisoning all of your experiences, relationships, and even your professional life. You really need to learn to transcend that and to face it so that you can align the heart and the mind in the way that's going to help bring you into harmony so that everything starts to fall into place for you. So what's the guidance for you moving forward? Choose friends wisely. Seek hidden treasure. Look forward and claim your art. And I'm going to use this deck as well. This is the Oracle of the Hidden Worlds, the Isle of Wonders, the Relics of Lemuria, and the Secret of Camelot. Let's get some charms for you as well, and some tarot coins. Okay, those are the backs from, we don't need the backs. Okay, we have here the spider web, the love hurts heart, hello, I'm a bad idea, the twin quartz, the seashell, the Game Boy, and this one says Daddy's Princess. Choose friends wisely. The Isle of Wonders, revelation, teaching and discovery. The connection to your social group and your friends has come up. It's come up a number of times, and it feels like you've abandoned one friendship group in search of another that tends to massage your ego or tell you what you want to hear versus what you need to hear. You're being asked to tap into your truth and emotions, the peace. You're a bit of an island when it comes to friendships. You're not good at maintaining an intimate connection. Again, this is rooted in the same childhood abandonment wound, and you're being asked to reconsider this. There's a revelation or important discovery available to you through those friendships. Seek hidden treasure in the relics of Lemuria, fragments, memory and reclaiming. There's a need here to dive into your own soul's wisdom and history, perhaps through the Akashic records. I'm really intrigued that these features islands as well, you know, like it, and there's also another dove here, like it's just beyond your kind of reach. But it's there if you tap into your own intuition. You know, it's hidden. Seek the hidden treasure. You know, there are relics of the past that can come through and teach you. Keep looking forward. And I'm really intrigued by claim your art. You know, you have a very unique skill set, and the way you perceive things is unique to you based upon the very rich and varied education you've received and explored. And it says here, the authority of spirit, the secret of Camelot. You have very powerful and profound messages to share, and because you keep comparing yourself to others, you've not really found where you fit in and what you're uniquely bringing to the table. This will be a very empowering discovery for you, but again, it feels like it's connected to a friendship group that you have maybe turned your back on. Hello, I'm a bad idea. And the Game Boy. This is so interesting, and I'm hearing that this connects to your person, as well as the shell and the love hurts one. You've got the twin quartz here as well, and the web. Now, I feel like your perception of your person, even though you see them as wonderful and you love them and everything else, all of the shadow aspects you see within them are in you too. You're frustrated by their inability to communicate in an intimate way, but you're not recognizing that you play the same games, which is why the Game Boy shows up, and that you're just as shut down emotionally and incapable of meeting them on that kind of intimate bridge. This is definitely a very spiritual connection you're experiencing, and sometimes the pain of it really overwhelms you. But again, you know, this is rooted in childhood pain, and this time we've got Daddy's Princess. So, you know, it could be that the father energy or the father relationship there was also tremendously impactful, especially if you're a woman dealing with a masculine energy. The spider web. For me, the spider web is twofold, because the spider is a very industrious and independent creature. It's very creative. It takes care of itself. But when the web on its own comes up, it's this feeling of being trapped and stuck. And you may have tried to dismantle, destroy, or disconnect from this person because the pain was so overwhelming. Again, you play the same games that they do. You're not recognizing that the shadow aspects you see in them are in you as well. Yes, it hurts, but the idea is to open up and allow yourself to be vulnerable and to embrace this so that you can, you know, step into that sacred unity. Whew, so I really hope that was helpful, Pile 3. I'm going to take this over to extended now. We're going to go deeper. I want to know more about your person, because I feel that's very relevant to you and we haven't touched upon it enough. And I want to get more information about the father-mother wound and how you can focus on healing that. So if this has resonated for you, you can find the link to the extended in the description box below. Hopefully I'll see you there. But if not, thank you so much for joining me here. I appreciate you being here so very much. It really is such a pleasure to read for you guys. And thank you for hitting the like button, for your beautiful comments, and also for subscribing today. And thank you so much to those of you that very generously exchange energy with me by watching my commercials and adverts. That really does make the greatest difference to my channel and the channels of other readers. You know, that's how we get paid. And it's 1 minute of adverts is a very small price to pay for the free content you receive from myself and the other fabulous readers on YouTube. I salute them all. So much fabulous wisdom out there being shared with you today. I'm so grateful to it, and so grateful to you being here and giving me this outlet. So thank you so much, and I will see you next time. Lots of love. Bye.